Hello and welcome to the next episode of this series, which is all about this Lego room and of course my life. And no, I have not yet had a haircut, but we are where we are with regards to the display so far, and we've got a lot more to do. So before I go on about what we're going to do, let me show you exactly what we did in the last upload. So we are here. So we have managed to get in the loop coaster and the Avengers Tower, which I think looks very, very smart together. And then we have stepped it where we've got the Ghostbuster Firehouse just behind. And now you can see all the front entrances and the doors. You can make all the dioramas and bits and pieces like that. So obviously the plan of attack of this is to put all the base plates around all of this. So we'll have a road looping all the way around, and then we'll have a bit of space at the back for some different bits and pieces, because that is one of the things that's going to be moving in today's upload with quite a few other bits and pieces. So that is basically what we did last time. That's what we've done in the past. So I'm trying to get everything where it should be, and then I can actually base plate everything, and then we'll be happy with the layout. So today we need to sort out this. Whatever this is going to be, it is a mess. So I just basically want to push everything to the blue wall so we can group all the sets together, see what sets we've got left, put them in the correct place depending on where they're going to end up, and then we can just go from there. And also, I want to get this table out of the way and other little bits and pieces like that, because this table just here is going to be our Ninjago display, and that is all smashed up in that cubbyhole thing. So I need to pull them out in the next upload. That won't be happening in this one, but I want to basically get everything ready for that. So we've got a lot to do, a lot to move, and I want to be having a look at the downtown Gotham area to see if we can either add some water over there or in that corner. So I'm going to be headbutting a wall for most of this video, but with that being said, let's get to it. So I think the first thing to do is attack this area. Just get all the sets against the blue wall, like I said, so I know exactly what we're going to be messing around with. Then they can start going to where they need to go. Now, if I wasn't stupid enough and brought up this monstrosity of a Colosseum from a different place, I would have just had this table to put different bits and pieces on as well. But as we know, I'm stupid. So we can't do that just yet, but we can use a little bit of this. Now the video might end up being shorter than normal. Obviously I've only just started it, because I'm going to do quite a lot of time lapses in this one, because there's lots and lots of different bits and pieces to move. And then I think I do a big catch up and an update with you after. Otherwise I could just place you like I normally do on the roof of one of the sets and speak as I go. But this could take hours and hours and hours to do, and I can't bore you for that long. So we are going to go straight into a time lapse. I'm going to place you somewhere. I might actually use the red roller coaster track as a bit of a perch, and you're just going to see me running forward and backwards like a headless chicken, because over here we have actually got the Dungeons and Dragons, which I need to put basically back together, because obviously it splits up. So if you didn't know that the set actually comes apart, you can actually play it as a game, then you can put it all back together again. Do want to get the carousel moved in this upload, so that will happen. That needs to go with the space roller coaster, so the space roller coaster's got to move. So this side is going to look a little bit more clean, so there'll be at least 2 moves on this side to do. And then I've got to think about what I'm going to be doing with that down at the bottom. I want to tidy up that corner as well within this upload, and then get all of this sorted. And then we'll see how we're doing for time, and then we'll just basically crack on. So time lapse for you, and now me running around in quite a warm Right, hopefully the time lapse is coming through cleanly enough. That's always a big worry with the time lapses. I don't know if you can actually see what's going on, but we are going to be now just adding in some of these minifigures from here, and then I will end up getting that moved, and I'll get that moved, and I'll give you a bigger update of what exactly is going on. But I'm actually using the loop coaster as like a perch, so that's actually coming in quite handy. Hasn't fallen off yet, because if it fell off from that height, then it's going to be a little bit messy. But you can see what I'm trying to do. I'm just going to start putting little battle bits and pieces up on the roof. Just need to get all the other minifigures in and done, and then as we start finding all the minifigures again that have been thrown in all the bags and everything, just from multiple months of just being an idiot, like I am, we can start doing bits and pieces like this. So what I want to try and do now is obviously get the head back in, but I have got a little idea with the Spidey bridge, because they did an old school Spidey bridge back in the day, and it is that big. So the display that's on show of white, it's on there, but obviously it's not going to fit because of the height of the track. But if I raised it up so it was in line with the top of the track, I could actually have a diorama piece just here, and then I could put the Statue of Liberty head where that flag is on the other side and literally sit it on there. But if I want this to be a working coaster, I could customize it ever so slightly and raise it up. Now, if I can get it high enough so the train can go underneath it, I think that would be quite nice to have the head quite high, far off, with the bridge going towards the Statue of Liberty. And then at least that way, it doesn't take up any table space. And we can make the coaster part of the Spidey diorama. So I want to start doing bits and pieces, obviously, with the Quinjet. Will go up onto the roof and just different bits and pieces like that. So you're now going to see me running around and see if I can figure out and if I can find the pieces, because that's what we used them with before. Now, these are very, very sturdy on that. I just need to make up a couple more of these. It's a waste of decent brick, but somewhere I've got quite a lot more of them. Keyword is somewhere. Hence why you go into a time lapse, I don't know where anything is. So we'll get this bit done, freeze that bit up, and then we can then just figure out exactly what's going on. You can see there's no real plan. Well, there is a plan, but there's no really easy way of doing it. But we'll carry on. So set has just taken a plunge straight down the loft ladders, and it was the Space Coaster. So luckily it's not going to be too hard to put back together because it is just basically track. So forget that for a second, that's just going to get thrown over to that corner. Now I am saying this out loud because obviously I'm doing this in real time and I have no idea what is going to look best. But I think the carousel works where it is because that thing is so big. I think it needs to be beside something that's quite large. So obviously if we're going to be making up all these dioramas and you have it just there, I think that's going to look quite nice. And then of course this thing does work like all of the others, and just behind it we'll then have a path. Now that path to the left hand side of it, so just on the edge of that curve, I could potentially fit the much larger Ferris wheel. And I think underneath the much larger Ferris wheel we have a path. Now if I've got the roof height and it actually towers over the edge of that roller coaster, because it should do, and we put the Spidey head where I put the flag back, because I tried to do it but there's one or two bits missing because it, funny enough, it got dropped as well. It will be strong enough to take the weight. And I think if we had the head up with the battle, you would actually then have the Ferris wheel basically around it. And of course, there is a Ferris wheel used in one of the Spider-Man films, but I just need to get the correct couple of minifigures to go with it, especially the Dark Spidey. So that is a figure I don't actually own, so I will need to pick that one up. But that could potentially work, and then just beside it would then be the X-Men Mansion. So we'd have Daily Bugle, this, the diner, and the Ferris wheel, all for Spidey related. And then that, I think that would work with regards to just making dioramas around it. And then don't forget, it's just going to be a footpath for the theme park. So we are slowly, I think, making progress on that. That is obviously going to move. I'll put the Daily Bugle back, so that'll be fine. The Quinjet's going to find a home in this upload as well. It's going to go on one of the rooftops. I've just put the Hulk there to see what he's like. I just wonder if I could do something with these, but because they haven't got any studs on show and they're all it's not, I can't Can't really place without them falling off, basically. So maybe that might be a no starter, but it would be quite nice to do something with it. But obviously the main thing that would be quite nice is actually to get this thing working. So maybe I should make it work in today's upload as well. Which basically means I don't think we're going to get much done on this side, because this. What am I going to do with that? I've got two options. It either goes just there where it used to be in the back, so you see it through, which would look nice, and then we try and make like a little beach thing in front of it, because I do actually have a beach hut as well. I got given that for a Christmas present, so I've got a 3-in-1 beach shack somewhere. It's brand new in the box. It's in there. It's in with all the other bits and pieces underneath there. And then of course we have the old fishing store. So does all of that go in that corner, or do I try and squeeze it in front of Gotham, and we have more of a Gotham harbour? Because for water, the Ninjago stuff's going to work, because they're all water. And then I've got the big boat, and that huge boat is going to be in the middle of the table, and that's going to be sat on water anyway. So Ninjago is literally just going to be all wet. So I could just have a dry, sandy area, which could be used for food and different bits and pieces like that. I don't know. I don't know which is the best way to go. So I can visualize that just going on there, because this is quite a big. That's quite a big board, but that will take up all the space pretty much. And then there'll be a 32 by 32 base plate in the corner, which would be the old fishing store. Base plate in front of it would be sand. And then do we come into a little bit of water? So we just have a run of water. And then we come into the mythical bits and pieces, which then is not going to work for the Jurassic Park. It's just getting tight for space on these last couple of bits and pieces. That's the only issue. But I am going to grab a drink, because I'm flagging a little bit. It's really hot up here as well. I've got a throbbing headache, but nobody cares. Right, a little bit of progress has been made. I didn't know how long it would take, so I didn't do it as a time lapse. But you can see that that is the big Statue of Liberty in the back. Now, if that was all tanned, and this bit in front of it was all tanned, that would be the sand. Behind it would then be the water, which I think that would just make sense with regards to having a bit of water and a bit of sort of sand in front of it. It just keeps it sort of equal. It either needs to be 32 of each or 16 studs of each, but the tape measure is out because of the lighthouse. Now, this does give a good opportunity for the lighthouse now, and it would be the only place it can go. So it could either go directly beside the bait shop, or it can go to where the base plate was, which is what I was measuring before I started this video, and it could go just there, which then leaves this strip. Now that strip then could potentially be the Dungeons and Dragons, because the Dungeons and Dragons is on water, which then means the base plate there, that would be water. If I got that in a dark base plate, could be all of the battle of the new minifigures. Now, if I could get that behind it, and then bring the base plate in front of it, we could then obviously see the battle a little bit easier. So I could have a little bit of a play. So that's going to be my first plan of attack, I think, to see if I can get this angled it away across the back, because this is a very, very awkward shape, just to see if it would work. Because if I can get the lighthouse, for example, here, and have a base plate here of water, and the D&D starts there, that could all be sort of our sea and sand, and then we could then spin it round, and then we can come into the Rivendell that way. Or failing that, the Rivendell would be this way, Dungeons and Dragons that way, and then we make a display in the middle. Still haven't thought about the Jurassic Park gates. That is still on the list of things to think of. So you're going to go to quite a big time lapse now, I think, where I'm going to be moving bits and pieces around. Now, obviously, of course, we can push this to the back if need be. So that could go to the back, then we could have sand, then we could have just water in front, and then it could be something, and so on. So we have got options, but we need to keep it the same of either, like I said, 32 by 32 or 16 by 32, so it just looks easier and better on the eye, and it's just a lot easier to figure out. But yes, like that, if that was all sand underneath, and this was a sandy one here, I have got the beach shack, like I said. So that would be, I think that's on one of these, I think. It's this scale, but it's the beach shack. So that would go on the corner like that. Bit of sand on the L shape, bit of sand on the back, and that's that display done. That's how I envision this bit. But then it's just making it work behind it. Now, because obviously, as you can see, I think I can get away as long as I don't put something hugely big, we could get away with just a normal display or some boats and things behind that. But like I said, if I can get that, this bit in that corner and bring it out, it's going to be very tight with that flag. If I could shrink the flag, I think it might work. So there's going to be swearing, which means you're going to go to a time lapse so you can't hear it. And yeah, wish me luck. Right, that's a turn up for the books, which I wasn't expecting. It actually fits okay. If I took the flag off and then just put the flag on again once it went underneath the shelf, because of how the shelf is actually built. So that could go into the corner. Now, I was saying about having a 32 by 32 or a 16, but look at the space. Look at this. So I could now just come straight off here and wrap another one here with water, and then figure out how far back I want to come. So we could just have that either surrounded by water or just have a strip of water around the sand. So it just gives us that sort of thing, I guess. Because obviously that I've moved over because I want it to fall off on that, and that's not actually where it's going to be going anyway. But there is an option for that, because if I just get another one of these 16 by 32s and just have it and just put it blue, I could then come out with the water. I could potentially come out by 32 that way, and then maybe have, say for example, that would be where the lighthouse would be. It just depends on if the rumours of these new CMF minifigures for the D&D set is true. Because obviously the other thing I could do is pull it this way and then have a, what's that, 16 by 32 in the far corner. Then there's a little bit of water that way, and then maybe another 16 by 32 this side as well. So it's surrounded by water. I don't know. I really don't know. So what do we think? Do we think it looks better as is? Or do we pull it out? I forget it's supposed to come apart, so I could just easily take it apart. Do we put that in first, like there, because obviously it's the same size, and then does that go like that, so it's not, doesn't look like it's just absolutely smashed against the wall, which potentially could be a slightly better option. Obviously it won't be that base plate. And then now, because we've opened it up from here, I would imagine that now gives us a 32 by 32 space. Well, it's not far off. So if we actually said we wanted a 32 by 32 space, that would be our start point, which means that would have to come over to here. So we could start doing things like that. So do we have water, 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 sand, 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 something? That then basically gives us a straight line. Rivendell gets spun round, and then that leads us into the next section. Isn't bad. I would have to get the same blue base plate, which annoyingly I just saw at Western Brick Show yesterday. So could put just put two 32 by 32s down, or be slightly under, because obviously how this is and how it's stepped, we're now off ever so slightly because the base of this is massive, but I can push that a little bit closer to the wall, but that's about as far as I'll be able to go. So we're going to be off by a stud or just staggered by a stud ever so slightly, but that is an option. I think that looks better away from the wall with a little bit of water there. And obviously what I'd do is I'd just sit it on a base plate. So I would need to get 1, 2.5, 3, 4 blue base plates. That sits on 2 of them, obviously. I will get the Rivendell in place, carry on tidying this up, and then we'll see exactly where we're at. And to be honest, that might be the end of today. It's got quite late now, especially for this project. I've got quite a lot of other bits and pieces to do, so Looks like Gotham might have to be the next upload. But let's see what this looks like spun round. That now looks like a disaster zone. So like I said, I'll tidy that up off camera. Start typing away in that comment section what you think. Oh, just don't forget about the dragon. So the dragon could probably now fit because it's pulled away from the wall. Bit of orange going over the water, looks like it's flying in. And if I pushed the Rivendell back to it, or gave it a bit of a... Just depends on how close we want it. And I guess it depends if we want the Rivendell roof facing that way, or we want to be looking at the Rivendell that way. Leave it with me. Right, I think we can all agree that this set is absolutely stunning, but I'm not 100% sure if it's in the right place. But it has helped with spacing doing that, because I've got to be careful what else I add up onto here, just because they are all such big sets. Now, what I don't want to do is make it claustrophobic like we did on this table. That is not the point of what I am trying to achieve, because obviously this is supposed to be more diorama based. Now, I could bring this over by 32 studs, so we have more space around the Dungeons and Dragons set, so we have more space around the sets to be able to create these footpaths and these dioramas and stuff. But then it might make it a little bit tight this way. But if I did that, I could potentially spin this the other way around and basically have it as a big sandwich. But I don't know. I don't know if that's the better way to do it. I don't know if it works as it is, because we have obviously got some water here. But what I do know is that if that was 32 by 32 water, and that was a 16 by 32 water, and obviously it was all underneath, so water is an L shape, sand is the opposite L shape, I think that would work really nicely. And you can see it from there. And I think you can still see it from there, especially we're going to be making like little diorama pieces up from there. But I don't know if it needs to come over by 16 studs or 32 studs or whatever, or this just completely flips around and it goes against the back wall. Now, if it went against the back wall, obviously we don't want to block it with stuff in front of it, so that is the problem, because whatever the next set is, it would have to face forward, because we can create a dio there, a dio in front of the Lord of the Rings sort of thing, and then we could potentially get the castle, because we've got Snake Mountain and the He-Man castle, which potentially could go either side, and then we could get the medieval village at a later date and the castle, and that's it. That's all the space for that. Or we don't do that, and we just add in loads of greenery and water and go back to the original idea of mythical stuff, and the medieval just goes somewhere else, which isn't the worst plan that I've had. I am going to have a think and a play and a move around of all these sets. Make up some little dioramas, get some bits and pieces fixed, and then I think we'll wrap this video up. I'll let this video go live so you guys and girls can see it. I'll then move on to the next section. And then once I've read your comments, I'll go back to this area, and then we might be able to fine tune it ever so slightly. But I know I'm going to need some darker base plates for that L shape. I just think it might look a little bit better, spaced out a little bit more. I might do that right. I'm going to do that with you right now. We're going to move it over and just see if I'm talking absolute nonsense, or is this going to work. So if all of this, look at this, we're starting to run out of rubbish, which is great, because every time I move bits and pieces, I keep finding a different place where it should actually have gone. So don't forget, all of this does untangle, it doesn't clip itself. Definitely don't want that to fall off. Come on. Oh, caught it. Caught it. Now, because it's at such an angle, is it going to make a difference? So that is quite far away from it now. Has that made a difference to it whatsoever? No, not really. But if this was facing forward against the back wall instead, Dungeons and Dragons, Lord of the Rings. Could could we put the Stranger Things set in the middle of the two? And then we basically have 3 sections of a theme park, all with a little diorama in front of it. Do we do the alleyway? Do we do like a diagonal alley between the 2 lands? We've got options, which is a good thing, but like I said, I'm going to have a bit of a mess around, let you guys and girls in the comment section decide what we think is best, and then just move on to the next zone. Right, we are coming to the end of the day, and I have made some sort of progress to the point of where actually I've got it all done to a degree, and I can just carry on with a different upload at different times. I'm not even going to bother trying to add in the DC stuff within this upload. This video is just going to be a week long. So this is what we have achieved so far. This is obviously, you've seen as we come down, excuse the dragon, he's just chilling out just there until I can get him up and on there in a slightly different position. So he will fit, I just need to reach around and do it. And thinking about it, it would never have fitted underneath if I didn't actually put that bit of water there anyway, because his wingspan is just so big and the tail on that thing is enormous. Now I have spun the Rivendell round, so that is what they look like now side by side, and I have started to put some of the base plates down as well, which I think makes it look a lot more clean. So if I've got this dragon just out the way, at least you can see now exactly what the plan is. And then I think the medieval castle will go where the He-Man castle is, on that bit just there. Which then makes me wonder what I'm actually going to do with the He-Man and Snake Mountain now. Because the plan was to have them as like a triangle. But I think they could potentially go somewhere else. So I might try and get them in the haunted section, maybe. And if I can do that, it means we can then just have a medieval display off the Rivendell, and then we can just come forward, because this is going to kick in because of the Winter Village stuff. So this isn't going to be in a perfect straight line. So the smaller diorama pieces will actually go in front of the Rivendell. So I've just got these for scale. So this is the pirate one, for example. So we've got that one, and then I'm in the process of putting this thing together. So that kind of scale, and maybe just a little bit bigger with regards to the village. Was it the market? Not the Winter Village. Medieval Village, there we go, that tied. So the Medieval Village will go and sort of kind of wrap around it off the nice castle, and then we can kind of link all of it together. So I did say that I wanted these for diorama space, and I think we now do have that space, because we've got 1, 2, 3, obviously 4 base plates and a 32 by 16 for something as well. I still think that one is going to be just basically completely sand with that. I could keep that little toy shop there and then put the actual beach shack just beside it, and then have the rest of that as just sand, and then obviously base plate that one as sand, have that as sand. Water, water, water. And then do we start the greenery here? We do half and half there. We'll do something just to sort of blend in the two, but it'd be nice to have a 32 by 32 base plate diorama for the Dungeons and Dragons, so we know that we have got that. Now, there is potential still to have the lighthouse, because it would go here on this one just there. So you'd have the big tall shaft in front. I don't know if that would look right or not, and forget it. I've got nowhere to put it. So I don't think that's going to happen. But I know what will look nice is the waterfall from the Monkey Kid set just behind here. Now that is in the dreaded Ninjago box. It's not broken. I know it's in the box, just led down, so I put it in there safe and sound. But it is in there, which means that I'm going to get that tidied in the next upload. Get this off the floor in the next upload to create space to get the Ninjago stuff out. And then the first thing I would do is add in a nice big waterfall just behind there, because that'll feed in both of those little bits of water, and then that would look nice as a diorama piece. Now we have got options with regards to the bits and pieces up top. I don't particularly want to be moving all of these smaller units, but they could potentially go in front. So we've got all the trees and things, but I kind of think that defeats the object. I think if we just have the Disney bit just up at the top, then we have the sort of catapults and all that kind of stuff, and all the horses and everything moving around. I think that will do the trick. Whereas these, the dioramas, are the big display bits. It's just the buildings, and then we'll just have the people on the buildings, which is obviously the point. Then I'll pack it in with a couple of the cars, and then the rest of it is just going to be generic minifigures just walking around with their little tickets. Now I have moved the haunted house over, I'm trying to see if I can get the haunted house to fit somewhere around here. Now the reason is for that is because that looks so clean and nice, and you know it's going to work with the big castle in the corner. I think the castle will be better in the corner rather than having it in the middle, because I can visualize that nice waterfall behind it and it would feed those two. And then obviously we have water into greenery, into maybe a bit of greenery and then grey. There's obviously something missing. This is missing, so I am trying to get that set at the end of the table, so it's basically gates to nowhere, and we just have the big T-Rex poking its head through. And then if I get some of the other Jurassic Park stuff, it doesn't need to be big, it doesn't need to be a big thing, it doesn't take up any space either because it's so skinny. So I just need to space it. If I can slot it in at the end of the table, we might be okay. So I thought, well, if I get the haunted house over and bring them forward, and if the Ferris wheel did go there, and obviously we're sort of creating this nice path. So we've got options with this haunted house because it can spin the other way around and it can actually face inwards. So from this side then, we'd actually have a nice big tall building facing towards us. But that is something that I'm going to think about and see if I can make work, because we still have space for the X-Men mansion behind. Potentially what will have to happen is also put the Quinjet up at the top, is these three buildings will probably move over, so we can't really see some of the townhouses. So I think what we'd do is probably lose the middle one behind, which would be okay. And then the X-Men mansion would go off the Ghostbuster firehouse, because that is your focus point for the eye, and obviously it's a nice looking set. And then the 32 by 32 space, obviously we got half of it is road, and then half of it is for whatever else it is that we want to do. So necessarily we could try and make it work and try and tighten it a little bit. But I think where we've got this, I think it looks very, very nice with the 32 by 16 by 32s, and obviously the 16 by 16. So if we can pinch it, because that little bit where it's coming around the corner is a 16 by 16, then it opens up into a 16 by 32. So if these two big buildings here will push back by 16 studs, it would give us 16 studs at the front, which would be a base plate and a half, because obviously we've got 2 base plates just here. So we have got room to maneuver bits and pieces, because obviously the other option is the haunted house basically stays where it is. We just try and create a path of 16 by 16 all the way around, because we've done that here. This is a 16 by 16 walkway, so that'll be okay. Yeah, that's a 16 by 16 all the way down, and then it comes into a 32 by 32. Does the X-Men mansion just go at the front? And then all of this basically gets shunted back and over ever so slightly, and then we just have the roads, which I think is possibly a very good option to do, because I've got this as a 32 by 32, so I want to see both front doors, but then everything else we might be able to get away with, but we'll have to do that in a completely different upload, I think. But as far as bits and pieces goes for now, I think we're done. I could now spend the same time again doing stuff in that corner and doing stuff in that corner, but I'll just split it up so this upload isn't hours and hours and hours long. But this also gives me the opportunity to get this uploaded, and then you guys and girls can let me know what you think. I'm happy with how that looks through there. I think that's a nice sort of photo. I think you can get nice bits and pieces. I can visualize that being sand into water, get the dragon up, and we can make some nice little diorama pieces just in here. Now the only thing is you guys and girls, I'm thinking it now, and I've just figured that out straight away, is obviously it's supposed to be a theme park and each thing needs its own ride. But don't forget, the castle is the roller coaster at Legoland. So if we can create some sort of ride where, I don't know, we have a bit of a queue line at one way and they just go around on boats, they just sail their way around, and we just create almost like an oval shape of water and then create a footpath through. So it's just 3 different eras or decades or whatever it is you want to call it for the ride, and then we can just make a real nice diorama up. So I can now actually make a proper display like you guys and girls would do at home, and then just make an oval shape of a ride. It'd either be car, it could either be canoes. It could be whatever it is that we want to do. So let me know what you think of that, because I don't think I can get a roller coaster track around the castle. I think that might look a little bit silly, but we could use the theming to our advantage and then do something with that. But of course, I'm waffling as normal, and it's that bad. The battery just died. So that is it, and I am done. That is a sign to stop and get on with something else. So if you can like this video and subscribe to the channel, that'd be absolutely fantastic. We are slowly starting to get there. That bit's getting there. That bit is getting there. That bit is, well, it's doing something, isn't it? So we can see what we're now trying to do, which is great. This bit will get attacked next. And then finally, we'll get to the Ninjago stuff, which is my favourite theme, and then we can get it back. And then I will regret every second of my life trying to build that back together. So that's a nice, depressing way to end the video. But as always, thank you very much for watching. You lot take care, and I'll see you next one. Ta-da.